Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Hi-Fi Study for You. Today in this video, we are going to appreciate the beauty of history. Today we are going to start our history class 9 and that's the very important topic. Today we are going to throw light on some revolutions which pop up in the history of the world. So the most famous is the French Revolution. Today we are going to talk about French Revolution. So let's start. Firstly, look at the term, the French Revolution. It's talk about the history of France. It's talk about how from monarch it became a democracy. How the Napoleon Bonaparte and Louis XVI got throne. Okay, let's start. So it starts in the time of 1774. So in 1774 there was a prince named Louis XVI. Louis XVI. Now Louis XVI was of Bourbon dynasty, was a king of actually Bourbon family. Okay, Louis XVI was a prince of Bourbon family. Now he became the king and annexed the throne of France in 1774. Now this man, Louis XVI, was a very great personality. It actually became king at the age of 20 and also got married with the Princess of Austria-Hungary, Marie Antoine, the Princess of Austria-Hungary, and that's how the France have relation with the country Austria-Hungary. Now that's the problem here is that the Louis XVI. Now Louis XVI, when he became king, found the treasure empty. He found the treasury empty. Now, when he became king, the treasure was empty. So, what was the reason behind this? Why the treasury is empty? So, there are mainly 4 to 5 reasons. The first reason is that long years of wars drained the resources of France. There was long wars. Long years of wars. Now, long years of wars had drained the resources. There was scarcity of food only due to there were long years of wars. Now, the second reason behind this is that France helped 13 American colonies. France actually helped 13 American colonies to gain independence from, yes, the common enemy, the Great Britain, to get independence from Britain. Now these are few reasons why the treasure was empty. Also in that time there is 10% interest on the loan. So the France government no longer invest any much to improve the condition, and also there was famines, there were bloodshed, there was scarcity of food. Now let's understand the term old regime, which come the first. So there is a term old regime. Now what actually the term indicates? Now old regime means it describes the society back in 1789. It is used to describe the society back in 1789, and there is very famous event which happened on 14th July, in the morning of 14th July 1789, that is the storming of Bastille. Yes, the royal prison of the King Louis XVI. Let's move further. Now let's talk about the structure of France in that time and how the rebellion actually pop out in the minds of the people, and why there is a need of democracy. We know also that monarch is not so important and not so like It's not in the favor of people, and also dictatorship is also not. The best ever form of government is democracy. It defines to the people, by the people, and for the people. Now let's discuss the structure. The France society is made up of three states: first, second, and third. Now the first state contains the clergy, church people. Second is the nobility, means the people or the relatives, nobles, relatives of kings were included in this. Third state is made up of businessmen, artisans, peasants, and some lower sections of society. Now these people are actually a lot of burden through first and second state. Now there is a provision and a privilege given to first and second state, the clergy and nobility respectively, that is that they will not pay taxes. The only state which pay taxes is the third state, and there is a lot of burden for taxes, due to which the biggest reason is of the France Revolution. Now this third state had to pay taxes, and also the clergy also have imposed some taxes, direct taxes like chins, which have to be fulfilled by third state. Now there are privileges that they will not, and they third state have to pay taxes. This is the big problem and the reason behind the French Revolution. Now let's move further and came up with the timeline and why the revolution actually happened and how it happened, what are the conclusions. Now, as we know, the king got thrown in 1774. Shortly after, in 1789, what happened actually? On 5th of May 1789, Louis XVI called a urgent meeting. Now, monarch had power to came up with a meeting, but that meeting is actually to impose taxes. Louis XVI can't directly impose taxes without giving proposal of the meeting. Now this meeting is contained of all of these members, three states, first, second and third, which contain the members of these states. So let's start. Now 5th May 1789, great meeting happened here. Now the first state and second and third sent some members in the meeting. Okay, so first state sent 300 members, second sent 300 also, but third state now sent 600 members. Now see the number. Automatically third state have the larger representatives, but there is also a trouble for them. We will see what is. Now also the French society contained 90% of peasants, means French society is comprising of 90% peasants, means if this is 100% of the French society, then 90 will be the peasants and remaining 10 were also few of them, like 5% will be third state. So only 5% were ruling the France, like ruling ever before the nation France. Now this is the structure how the meeting actually held. Now third state, what the Louis XVI have the provision that each, no matter how many member you send, all the member will represent just one single vote. All will represent just one single vote. Now look this. Already first and second state are wanting to impose taxes on third state, so why will they say no? So there will be two votes in the favor of imposing tax and one no. So third state demanded for each person each one vote, but Louis XVI, as useless, rejected the ideology. As a result, as the conclusion, Third Estate got rushed out of the meeting and for revolution. That's from begin the French Revolution. Okay, now let's move further at how they showed their angriness on the Louis XVI. Okay, then what happened? After 5th May, shortly after it, on 20th June, yes, the same year 1789, all these things are actually happened the same year. Okay, on 20th June, what happened? The third state gathered in an open tennis court in Versailles, the royal palace of Louis XVI. And one of also the reason that treasury was empty is that the maintenance of Versailles, because more than half of the treasure have to be invested on the royal palace for its maintenance. So Versailles is a great royal palace. For its maintenance, the treasure got empty. Okay, so here they gathered in the tennis court. After gathering, they formed their National Assembly. They formed on this date National Assembly. Now, why they formed this National Assembly? It is actually having that after the National Assembly got formed, they will draft, combine the Constitution of France. But actually, they were not wanting democracy, even though they just wanting to limit the powers of monarch. They just wanting the constitutional monarchy. Okay, so that's the National Assembly which got formed on 20th June 1789. Now let's move further and talk about the famous incident which I mentioned to you. Okay, then after, when National Assembly in one hand is busy drafting the constitution, on the other hand, the rest of the country is in unrest. They are thoughting that the constitution will be in the favor of majority. The constitution will be in the favor of first and second estate. They will not give us equal rights and they will not give us women's equal rights. So with this, actually on 14th July, on the morning 1789, the same year, they stormed, rushed out and destroyed the royal prison which actually is Bastille. They stormed, what happened here? Storming of Bastille. Why they stormed the Bastille actually? Because Bastille is a prison which represents the power of monarch, and peoples were not wanting this, so they just destroyed that. On this day, this important incidents happened, due to which till now, from this day, from the year of 1789, every year 14th July is declared as national holiday for France. Yes, it's the national holiday. Okay, now let's move further. Then after the storming of the Bastille in the France, then the Louis XVI is also seeing the angerness of people and also having the burden to actually accept the constitution. So, as we know, King annexed the throne in 1774. Then after in 1789, the National Assembly got formed. After National Assembly got formed in 1791, they came up with their own constitution. They were now having their own constitution, but you know what, there is also a problem in the constitution, because people not framed it very well. They just framed some rules which have to be fulfilled by the Louis XVI and should be imposed on the people. And there are few basic rules like people have rights of equality, liberty and thoughts, beliefs, expressions, and also the equality among them all. Now these are few common features of the France constitution back in that time. Then after National Assembly in 1792 declared France as Republic. Yes, now France became Republic. But what happened to Louis XVI? Yes, shortly after this, in the 1st January 1793, Louis XVI was sentenced to death. And also the same fate shortly after his wife is also like Mary Antoinette meet the same. Now this is the date at which monarch ended, but constitution was framed here. Then after 1792 it became a Republic France. Let's move further and talk about why Napoleon took entry here. Before Napoleon entered, after the constitution is also got failure because there is no feature at all. There are just disadvantages to people. So people also protest the constitution, and then after they led to the formation of Jacobean Club. And this Jacobean Club is made up of the prosperous sections of society. They are made up of actually artisans, businessmen, mainly the third estate, which is like, and the leader over here is Robespierre. Now this personality is actually very famous because he attempted to take control and punish. He has the ideology that control and punish. All those people whose Robespierre thought that they will be the enemy of democracy, they will be the enemy of Jacobean Club, of equality, of expressing the ideas, they just put them in prison or sentences to death, control and punishment. That was a kind of motto of Jacobean Club. Jacobean Club is also very, very important and a kind of revolutionary center, hub for the France people. Then after Jacobean, when the Robespierre actually also sentences to death in 1794, then after Jacobean Club as useless fall as the constitution. Then after when Jacobean Club fall, it give time to middle class families to take over the annex and became rulers. So automatically the middle class is now got the chance to make their own government. So in here the Directory ruled the France. Okay then. The Directory ruled the France. Now Directory is actually what happens, it is made up of 5 members. It is made up of 5 members. What happens, there are 5 members which are elected by the Legislative Council and they have the authority to govern the nation, govern the France. So the Directory actually governed the France, but if Directory doesn't succeed, Legislative just dismiss that and also as useless, Directory goes so far down. Then after it gives time to the king, to the dictator Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, Napoleon Bonaparte became the dictator of France in 1804. Then, when he became king, not shortly after, it ruled very much till mostly 11 years. Then after, in 1815, he was also defeated at Waterloo. Yes, he was also defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, the very famous battle, but Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated. This was just the French Revolution. Just I want to recap it in a little cheat sheet. So let's revise. In 1774, the King of France got annexed. Louis XVI got married with Mary Antony, the Princess of Austria-Hungary. Then after in 1789, 5th May actually, the Louis XVI called a meeting in which first and second represent 300 members each, third represented 600 members. Then after on 20 June 1789, there happened the National Assembly got formed by the third estate in an open tennis court in Versailles. Treasury was empty, scarcity of food is occurring. Now why? There is also in your textbook given the sustainable crisis for France. Why it happened? So let me explain you. So what happened actually when the peasants rejected to grow crops? Why? Because they were revolting, so they rejected to grow crops. So then that lead to bad harvest. Bad harvest lead to scarcity of food. Scarcity of food led to epidemics, led to the increase in demands and decrease in the production. Increase in demands, why? Population increases. Because in 1715 the population of France was 23 million. But in 1789 it increases by 5 million. It increases 78 million. That's a huge number if you think about it. So in that time, for just purchasing one single bread, people have to pay bundles and bundles of rupees. Why? Because scarcity of food, bad harvest, and this leads to sustainable crisis. And that's how the French Revolution actually occurred. Then after in 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte got the next, and 1815 defeated in Waterloo. That's all about French Revolution. So for watching this video, thank you and bye.